All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Kent with Bent 108, the hunt for Red Kentober. I'm a little more proud of that thumbnail than perhaps I need to be, but it was a lot of fun to make. So, hope everyone is doing well. We have a poll up for how tall was Abraham Lincoln, and right now, let me take a look. It looks like 6-6 is winning. We also have a 450 Argentinian peso super chat that says, a group of fish is called a school, a group of chimps is a troop, a group of baboons is called a parliament, a group of liars is called an Institute for Creation Research, and a group of Kents is called an AIG. Very nice. Good way to start off the show. So a few things. One, as you can see, because we hit our goal for super chats and memberships, Bent is in fact in a pink tutu, which he's wearing not around his waist, but around his neck, because, well, if you put it around his waist, you couldn't see it.
Right. That's why.
Yeah. So
on my neck.
Yeah. What
so
would be
you
the
can
point?
See.
Yeah. Exactly. Also, could you angle your camera up just a little bit, like maybe like 3 or 4 degrees? That's
How's
better.
that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, guys, a few things before we really get into this. One, you might have noticed that I am using some drums on these streams. That is because the music I was using, not getting copyright claimed, but it's getting extra licenses added, and YouTube is moving in the direction of taking music like that and doing a revenue split, and I don't want to share my money with that, so I'm just going to not use that music anymore. Whereas this one is explicitly a Creative Commons piece of music that I also got from YouTube. So there you go. That's why there's some drums in there. It's actually the drums that are also used in the backgrounds of the Glorio commercial, in case you guys are familiar with the Glorio commercial.
A very good commercial.
Yeah. So let's see. Also, hey, I know that for a lot of people, 2 days ago was Easter, so happy Easter. If you are someone who celebrates Western Easter, Eastern Easter is coming up this week. This is actually Eastern Holy Week. So there you go. And I think that's it. So, Bent, how are you? Oh my goodness, we already have Godzilla. I'm doing pretty well. So let's drink for Godzilla. Okay. So, you want to just dive into the rules?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who are new, Kent with Bent is a drinking show where we take a look at the nonsense put out by Kent Hovind over the years, especially his older stuff, because his newer stuff doesn't tread any new ground, and it's extremely boring. It's even more repetitive than his old stuff, which is hard to fathom, really. So the idea here is that what we do is we have some drink triggers, and we'll take a drink. Now, before we get into this, I want to let you know, if you want to play along, but you don't want to drink alcohol, if you want to use a vape, or drink coffee or tea, or if you want to do anything else like that, just drink water, whatever, that's perfectly fine. No one is here to tell you not to do that. But if you do decide to use alcohol or anything else that might impair your ability to, perform, be careful. Know your limits. Don't overindulge, and don't, after playing this with any intoxicating substance, go ahead and drive, operate heavy machinery, even ride a bike, right? This channel does not accept responsibility or liability for any death, dismemberment, injury, damage to property of yourself or others. This is an at your own risk, know your own limits, play it safe kind of a deal. However, as you've already seen, there is a Godzilla drink trigger, and also Keller Italian, who's been a member for 9 months and is at the amniote level, says, do you think Kent would be more annoyed by being associated with the USSR than most of the things you say about him? Yeah, probably. But then there's also a Godzilla emoji plus a drink, which means we drink again. Because one of the drink triggers is in fact that Godzilla or Mothra come by, but also anyone who's a channel member can actually send a super chat or a milestone chat with one of the kaiju emojis. Oh, and my goodness, there's Mothra. We'll take a drink for Mothra.
Iced tea, yummy.
Yum. We're taking a drink for Mothra. Oh, and Jake Nelson says, oh my goodness, there's Mothra again. Mothra's just gonna get us drunk by the end of this. Jake Nelson says for $10, go Full Metal Bent with all your music. Hate the mix, love the direction. Also, AIG is a bag of bungling bugger bars. You know what? We're going to take a drink for that.
Good super chat.
Okay, so, yes, if anyone sends a kaiju emoji, or like we just did, if we hear the kaiju come in, we'll take a drink. Now, you have to be a member to send the kaiju emojis, so, you know, there is a little bit of a cost associated with it. We will also take a drink for every single gifted membership. So if you go to the little money button and you click it, one of the options is gift memberships. You can opt to simply buy memberships for $5 a piece. Those will be applied to accounts randomly, but based on actual interaction in the chat. And that lasts for a month. It does not require that person enter any kind of credit card information. It does not auto-renew. They can simply just not have it anymore. The most that comes up is a little window will pop up on my channel when you watch a video and it'll say, hey, your gift membership has expired. If you'd like to renew it, you can click here, and you just don't have to. You can just close that down. So there's no risk to the person that is gifted. So I think it's actually a fun thing. So we drink for each of those. Bob Knob, who's been a member for 4 months and is at the Amnio level, says, you're playing a dangerous game here, Dapper. That's true. Also, Stupid Horror Energy has joined the channel at the tetrapod level. Everyone, send tetrapod emojis. No, it's already happening. No emojis for the pelagic tunicates. That's the emoji you're not supposed to send. Also, Eric Hamian just gifted 5 Dapper Dino memberships. Those went to Santino Flores, Smitty, Blue Flames, Hollyhock, and Trudy Stubbs. So here we go, 5 drinks. We're already at 10. We haven't even started with Kent. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that was 4 right there. And then here's 5. By the way, I'm drinking gin and tonic. And also Stupid Horror Energy for $5. Just sent to Godzilla emoji to make us drink again. Thank you very much. Okay. You know, I was telling Ben that when we first started the show, my goal was always to get chat to pay for the booze. And if we didn't do that, it was like a bad day. And if we did, like, yay, it was a free show because it used to cost money. And so I just appreciate
YouTube allowed gift membership.
Yeah, gift memberships were like, I love the gift membership thing because like it gives people something for free. It lets people be generous in a way that helps not just me but other people out. I think it's a fun thing. I'm happy that they did it. Steve Reno for $5 says the mix is fine, but Ben could try to sound more like Perry Como. P.S. Dapper. Then Steve Reno adds libelously, Dapper loves pelagic tunicate, which is of course a lie from the pits of hell.
That's what I heard, though.
It's disgusting. Everyone here is just disgusting.
I'll drink to that.
Don't you dare. You did. All right, guys, that's it. The show's over. No more Kent with Bent. It's over now.
We still have to finish going over the rules.
Oh, yeah, it's true. All right, so also, we will take a drink for Kent. There are actual Kent-related drink triggers. So if Kent says something that's just too stupid and we had to take a drink to cool our brains down, take a drink for that. If Kent gets something that's actually factually correct, but he's not just reading it from somewhere, if it actually comes out of his brain, take a drink for that. If Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that didn't happen, for instance, if he perhaps confuses the argument that he had with a shampoo bottle in the shower with an argument he had with a hypothetical Berkeley professor on a hypothetical airplane to a hypothetical California... Well, no. Okay, California is real, but the airplane and the professor probably aren't. So it's a hypothetical professor on a hypothetical airplane to real California. And if he pretends that that's real, take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink anytime Kent Hovind mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It'll come up real quick. Or its prominent members, or various, shall we say, historically significant activities engaged in by that party or members thereof, especially in the early to mid 20th century. Yeah, we'll take a drink for that. We will also take a drink for something called Trojan source. So if we find that Kent Hovind has cited a source, and we look up the source, and the source not just doesn't support his claim, but actively contradicts his claim, take a drink for Trojan source. We also have predictions. If it's not clear what Kent Hovind is about to say, what his argument's going to be, and myself or Bent Hovind predict what we think it'll be, we get it right, take a drink for that. Now, I believe I have not left out any of the Kent Hovind related drink triggers.
I think you got all of the Kenthoven drink triggers.
The last one, the only one that we have left, is if you super chat or milestone chat anything to the effect that AIG, that's Answers in Genesis, is a bag of dicks, we will take a drink. This is because they have a history of copyright claiming basically everything that uses any of their footage. And that's a dick move, so we take a drink for it. With that, though, I think now that we've had 11 drinks before we even started in with Kent, I think this counts as pre-gaming, technically. I believe it's time to dive back into Kent. Now, Kent was telling us how in the Catholic Bible, by which he basically just means all the Bibles that aren't Protestant, is random doxing a drink trigger, says Dr. Tapioca Weasel. No, it's not. For one thing, Kent's doxes are, because this is an old video, his doxes are so far out of date, it doesn't really matter. And I think he does it less now. But anyway, so we were being told by Kent that in the Catholic Bible, which, like I said, means basically just any Bible that isn't Protestant, because Protestants are the only ones who don't include the Apocrypha, among Christians, that you will find in Daniel a story called Bel and the Dragon, in which Daniel concocts this substance of tar and fat and hair to kill a dragon in the court of the Babylonian king. And Kent thinks that while this shouldn't be in the Bible, it is true, and is in fact evidence of dinosaurs living with humans at the time of the Babylonian exile, which, it's extremely dumb, but if you want to go into it, watch last time. We're also going to close this poll, so let's take a look at how it went. So this is a question from last time. How tall was Abraham Lincoln? 6'6" with 60% of the vote won. Turtle came in close, well, not close, but it came in second with 23. 7'6" is 8%, and 5'6" is 7% with 80 votes. Here's the thing. It's actually a trick question because while 6'6" is what Kent said, the actual answer is 6'4". Kent was even wrong about his weird trivia about Abraham Lincoln.
Just gotta Google it, Kent.
Yep.
It's really easy.
It's kind of embarrassing.
So that makes Turtle the actual right answer.
All right. You ready for more, Kent?
No, but let's do it anyway.
Okay, could you be more ready?
No.
Okay, then that's as good as we're going to get.
In the Catholic Bible chapter about this may be, based on historical fact that there were dragons still alive in 600 BC. Now,
okay, so let's think about this for a second. We're going to go a little bit more into it. Daniel is a book that is almost certainly written during the period of, after the Maccabean Revolt. And these additions to it are almost certainly even later, right? So these additions to Daniel, like Susanna and Bel and the Dragon, are probably maybe even first or second, well, maybe not first or second century, maybe first or second, BC, right? Well after the Babylonian exile. Nothing about them should be considered to be historically accurate. Now, if you want to draw spiritual messages about defeating evil through faith in God or something, from Bel and the Dragon, then great, have fun with it. I'm not going to tell you not to. But what you definitely shouldn't do is pretend that these are actually historical evidence of dragons. We'll just go in there.
There's no real dragons.
No, there aren't.
It's that simple.
It's been 1,800 years since the flood. So probably the majority were dead, and it was a rare thing to have a dragon. Certainly be a rare thing to have a dragon in your castle.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick drink because not only is it dumb to talk about it would be a rare thing to have a dragon in your castle, we're going to talk about why it's dumb to even say castle in this context. So a castle is a feature of the military doctrine of medieval Europe. It doesn't really occur elsewhere. There are certain things that are called castles that aren't really castles, like in Japan you'll see various structures labeled castles, but really those are palaces. So a castle specifically is a fortified residence that combines the place of residence of the local ruler with the functions of a military fort, in that it is a strategic military position with fortifications that is used to defend the surrounding area from military invasion. Because you can do things like take the people living in the surrounding countryside temporarily into the castle to protect them from an invading army, and then use things like the battlements and matriculations and corrugations and all that good medieval stuff to defend against the attacking army. Babylon did not have a castle. It did have city walls, which is basically, instead of protecting just the ruler's residence and bringing people into that residence, instead, you actually have troops along the entire perimeter of the city on the wall. And it had palaces, which are non-fortified fancy residences. But palaces aren't castles. Castles aren't palaces. City walls aren't castle walls. And Babylon didn't have castles. Any questions?
No.
All right. So, if anyone says a castle was in ancient Babylon, that's wrong. There were no castles in ancient Babylon. Also, matriculation and whatever. I can't talk anymore. There's too much Gian already. But matriculating from school is different.
And of course, Nebuchadnezzar and all of his superstition thought this was some kind of god because it obviously was a big, ferocious beast, and everybody should worship it.
If this story is based on anything true, which is probably not, it's probably just a crocodile.
Of course, he built a big gold statue and said everybody should worship that, you know, and he had a hard time worshiping stuff that he shouldn't have worshipped. So here we have an interesting story about dragons from 600 BC.
No, it's not from 600 BC, Kent. Like, it's maybe like 100 BC. Daniel itself, the core of the text, isn't from 600 BC.
Dinosaurs, I think, lived...
Oh, an interesting thing about Daniel is actually part of the dating is based on how much the book of Daniel gets right about who's ruling what cities and whatnot, and where it gets things wrong. Because, like, the more remote it is from the past, or into the past, the more wrong Daniel becomes about who's doing what, which probably indicates something about when it was actually written.
Mm-hmm.
After the flood, becoming more rare, becoming smaller, less numerous, more rare, driven out of certain areas totally, extinct. Some species probably went extinct. By 300 BC, they were very rare.
Yeah, Chris McDaniels points out they built a big gold statue of Trump too. Yeah, it's weird to me how popular Trump is with a certain segment of Christians to the point of literally making a golden idol.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's like, guys, okay, have you read the Bible? Is that a thing you've done ever in your entire life as a Christian? Have you ever read the thing? Apparently not, because apparently big golden idols to Trump are just A-okay.
Those are usually bad things in the stories.
Yes.
You're not supposed to make those.
Yeah, don't do that.
Alexander the Great, though, reported dragons when he conquered part of India.
Okay. Dragons were reported in stories about Alexander the Great in India. Alexander the Great didn't write those stories. We don't actually know what Alexander the Great found. We don't have a whole lot of evidence of what happened. We do have some. We do know that he made it to India. We know that his forces were basically completely terrified of war elephants, because that was completely outside their experience, was just giant painted up elephants with howdahs and people throwing arrows out of them and javelins and spears and the animals themselves just goring people.
Used to that.
Yeah, like that was yikes, not fun. Yeah, we don't actually have any good evidence that the stories written about Alexander the Great, which are clearly heroic embellishments about him, right? We don't have any good evidence that those things happen. But also, even if it were true that he reported something calling them dragons, India isn't short on big lizards and crocodilians, or big snakes. So, I mean, there's pythons, there's gharials, there's crocodiles, there are monitor lizards, all of which are big, all of which are scary. So, yeah. And you gotta remember, in the past, the word dragon wasn't restricted to just mythical creatures that we think of now, with like 6 limbs and fire breath and horns. People were perfectly happy to call a big snake or a crocodile a dragon, because it basically just meant big, dangerous, scaly thing, which includes a lot of real animals. But if your claim is, Alexander the Great encountered crocodilians in India, then everyone's gonna be like, yeah, okay, great.
And?
Yeah, they live there. Johnny Rapine says Gila monster. I mean, Gila monsters, I think they could be called dragons. They're a little small, but like, they got venom. Same thing with the Mexican beaded. Oh, there's Godzilla. Take a drink for Godzilla. Same thing with the Mexican beaded lizard. Okay, here we go.
We'll take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk more about dragons that are mentioned through history,
Oh, good.
and then eventually lead up into dinosaurs that are still alive today, and dinosaurs that are mentioned in the Bible. We'll cover.
I really want to know what his evidence is for dinosaurs alive today. Because I'll bet it's like, my Uncle Joe said he saw a Tyrannosaurus. Okay, cool. Good for Uncle Joe.
Smelly, they had to throw it overboard. That story.
Yes, that is a story.
All that after the break. Okay, let's go through a few more reports from ancient history, 2,000 years ago or so, about dragons. Alexander the Great
You already did this one, Kent. Move on.
conquered part of India.
Hillhugger, who's been a member for 7 months, says AIG are clearly a baggy accessory used to be. Take it. Nice. Okay, here we go.
As he was conquering the parts of these cities over there in this region, the people begged him not to kill the dragons that were sacred to them. And he said, What dragons? He said, oh, outside the city in the caves, there are dragons, and we take sacrifices out to them. Alexander reported that, he said, I told him I wouldn't kill them, but I would like to see them. When he went out to see the dragons stuck their heads out and hissed at his soldiers. And
Jake Nelson had safety briefings about Gila monsters. Yeah, no, they're timid and they don't like to come out and confront people. But yeah, if you get bit by one, it's going to be a really bad time. Not fun. Like I'm not going to say you can't die. Very unlikely that you'll die. I don't know that. I'm pretty sure the number of deaths from Gila monsters per year is well under 1. But like, it's sort of like most scorpions in the United States. There's basically no scorpion-related deaths in the USA. But that doesn't mean I want to get stung by one. Because you know what there are a lot of? Reports of people spending like 3 days in horrible agony after a scorpion sting. I would rather not do that. Exactly. I'm going to take a pass on that.
Scared him half to death. That's in, I don't know if it's in his diary or what, the records of Alexander the Great. This Roman mosaic made out.
I'm just going to take a drink, for Kent doesn't know what sources that he's referring to when talking about Alexander the Great.
Why would Kent know a source?
Yeah.
That he's citing?
Somewhere, someone said this about Alexander the Great. Okay, Kent, sure, maybe. You know, I have a degree in history.
You cite a lot of sources.
Goodness. It's one of the first things you learn about is citing sources and why it's important and how to do it.
Yeah.
Goodness.
The small pieces of tile, stuck together, was made about the 2nd century after Christ. It shows 2 long-necked dragons.
With goofy noses and goofy ears and fish heads coming out of their back. I would like to know what dinosaur that could possibly be. Anyone who has an idea as to which dinosaur has fish heads that come out of their back and had weird serpentine necks and goofy faces, like Goofy from Disney, please tag me and put the name of that dinosaur in the chat, because I would love to know.
This reminds me of an animal that Michael Scott would describe.
Yeah, it really does.
Extra heads coming out.
It's like something like with the body of an egret and the head of a marmot and the antlers of a moose.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, Kent, I'm not going to take animals with 2 heads, one of which is a fish and the other one of which is Goofy from Disney, as evidence of late surviving non-avian dinosaurs. My goodness, Fishbackosaurus. Yuck, yuck. Yeah. This is embarrassing.
Fighting.
Oh. How do you know they're fighting? That looks like they're necking. Maybe they're just having fun.
Looks like they're doing their mating ritual.
Yeah.
Or necking. Can't tell what's happening for sure.
Oh, okay. He did actually say it. Okay, fair enough, Ken.
Man, that would be necking, wouldn't it? Anyway, how on earth would the Romans know about dragons in the 2nd century after Christ?
Well, based on that picture, Kent, I'd have to go with the they made it up. It's like Kent is unaware that like people make things up.
People do make things up.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for a long time.
I'm gonna take a drink for how could the Romans have drew? There we go. How could the Romans have drew a picture or drawn? How could they have drawn? There you go. Have drawn grammar. A picture of weird, goofy-headed snake monsters with fish coming out of their back if they hadn't seen it. I don't know, Kent. This little thing called imagination. Jake Nelson for $10 says, a WTF-osaurus. Yeah, that works. So here's one of the things about all these creationist dinosaurs are dragons. They show dragons in art, and they don't even make an attempt to say what dinosaur that would be. Because once they pick a particular kind of dinosaur that they could name, right, like, oh, this is probably a Giraffatitan or a Kentrosaurus or a Ceratosaurus or whatever, it becomes immediately obvious, like, no, it's not. That's not what that animal looks like. You just have to be able to, like, it looks like a generic dinosaur. Well, okay, but that's not a thing. There's no such thing as generic dinosaur.
Right? Which one?
Exactly.
Cite it.
Mm-hmm. No, he
Cite
won't.
your sources.
He won't. He never. Well, okay, he sometimes does, but it's usually like some guy. You can call him and check, which is like, okay,
Some random phone number.
yeah.
Now, here you got these modern scholars saying, you know, nobody's ever seen a dinosaur because they lived millions of years ago. Well, how did they depict them on their pottery then? Saint.
You haven't shown us them doing that, but okay. Oh, you said Saint. Are we gonna get Saint George?
Maybe.
George is famous for slaying a dragon in 275 AD. He was later martyred for his faith.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. St. George, the earliest writings we have about him indicate that he was a Roman legionary who was indeed martyred for being a Christian. Looks like people who were part of his century probably outed him as a Christian, and then he didn't deny it, so he was executed during, I believe, the Neronian persecution. I don't remember exactly. Someone can double check me. That's not the important part. It wasn't until late in the medieval period, in hagiographies, that the story of the dragon was attached to St. George. So for the first about 1,000 years of the existence of the veneration of St. George, there was no dragon story attached to him. He was just a martyr. Then later, a pre-existing dragon story that was originally about someone else was attached to St. George in medieval hagiographies. So, Kent here, this is not just extra biblical. Like, this is a known story that is not true. Like, we know for many reasons, not just that there's a dragon. St. George never encountered a dragon. There is no good evidence that he ever did. Smitty, who's been a member for 11 months and is at the annual level, says, play Pokemon Insurgents. Buy it for me, I guess. Astral Nekomibi for $10 says, I drew it. If I drew it means it existed or exists, then the Christian God is not the only God that exists, because people have drawn up those other gods. But he said he is the only one. Checkmate. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, if all that it requires to be evidence of the existence of a thing is art of it, I mean, there's a whole heck of a lot of gods out there that must exist because people have drawn them and carved them and, you know, painted them. Like, think about how many paintings of how many gods and goddesses there are in India.
A lot.
That's proof positive that all those gods exist.
Thousands.
Yeah. Which, you know, hey, I'd like to go say hi to Hanuman. That sounds like fun. Go talk to a monkey guy.
I want to meet Mickey Mouse.
The
real Mickey Mouse.
The real one, yeah. All right. Here we go.
He's the patron saint of England and Portugal.
I don't know if he's the patron saint of Portugal, but okay.
St. George and the Dragon. This would have been in the first couple centuries after Christ.
Just said it was in the 2nd century, so yeah. And yeah.
You ever tried to read the old Beowulf?
Math for 15 years.
No, actually, he said it was in the 3rd century, but that still counts because it was 241. So yeah, he did teach math for years. Sorry, 3rd century.
Wolf story. I've got the story in my library there. Old English Beowulf is extremely difficult to read. I mean, you can't.
Okay. I mean, that is because of the low quality, but
You can only understand a few of the words, okay? Because English has changed so much since 583 AD. But the Beowulf story is interesting. I've read it several times. He killed Grendel the dragon by pulling off his arm.
interesting.
The story says Beowulf grabbed Grendel the dragon and pulled off one of his arms.
All right, so let's check this out here. This is a potential for a Trojan source. Also, Nathaniel Gray says, Sonichu confirmed, but with a Godzilla, attempt at a Godzilla emoji. We'll take it. Because, yeah, The
Mhm.
emojis are weird on certain platforms. So, okay. We need... I could just go grab my copy of Beowulf from my nightstand, but, you know, whatever. What, it's like the one book that I always keep there, just in case. You never know when it's going to be late at night.
Just in case you need to read it.
Yeah, you never know when it's late at night, and you're going to be like, you know what? What is it? Way Gardena. Now I can't remember the first opening lines of Beowulf. What way Gardena and something. I don't know.
I've never read Beowulf.
Really?
Shocking, I know.
You could definitely do that.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
maybe.
Hot way Gardena en Jardagum. Theodkuninga Thrim Jefrunon. Or the Atheringdas Ellen Fremedon. Of skills. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're not reading the whole thing. So, I'm going to try and get a page where we can get it in, like a side-by-side, so you guys can see the... Oh, hey, MIT seems to have a bilingual Beowulf.
Well, that's
Okay,
nice.
so... how are they spelling Grendel? Okay. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to a different scene real quick, and I'm going to zoom in. Alright, a little less than that so I can actually read what the heck's going on. Alright, so give me a second here. Whoops, didn't mean to put the opening back on. Let's see. So this is the first instance of Grendel. So, Grendel, this monster grim, was called March River Mighty, in moorland living in fen and fastness, the fief of giants, the hapless wight, a while held keep since the creator his exile doomed. O kin of Cain was the killing avenged by sovereign God for slaughtered Abel. Okay, so this is identifying Cain not as a dragon. Sorry, Grendel not as a dragon, but as the kin of Cain. Cain was what species, Bent?
I think human.
Human, okay.
Human.
So let's see what it says. So this begins in number 4. So we look at number... How do these numbers not line up?
Human.
Okay. Was se grimme gest Grendel hatten merkstapa se themoris held fen onfasten vilfkunis erd wonseli werdode huile sithon him shippend for skriffen hafte in Canis kyn. Cain's kin, right there. And then we can go on and talk about, well, who's Cain? Are we sure it's the Cain from the Bible? Also, H-Plan for $2 due says, joining the first Super Chat train. Welcome. Also, thank you very much for sending that Super Chat and for having this channel be the one that you gave your first Super Chat to. So, okay. But maybe the translation is wrong, right? And maybe this isn't actually talking about Cain from the Bible. Ton kwelm jouwrak ektrichten, tas de he abel sloch, ne je verre heeft daar verder akhehin voor werk, method for mana. And we don't actually have to go that far, because this one right here, tas de he abel sloch, the one who slew Abel. That's the Cain we're talking about. So is Grendel a dragon?
No.
No, he's a monster, sure, but he's descended from Cain. So he's basically a human. He's identified as the kin of Cain. Maybe he's a vampire if you're a big fan of Vampire the Masquerade lore. I don't know. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just drink for Trojan Source, because that is not what this says. Yeah, I do sound a bit like I bit my tongue. It happens. All right, here we go.
And the creature fled out of the room and then later bled to death. Well,
I'm hitting the G's, some of those G's too hard there. Yeah, it's true. I probably am. Look, I'm really out of practice with Old English.
most anybody that studies a T-Rex will tell you, even though he had ferocious head and ferocious teeth and was, huge, his front arms are pretty tiny. And
a T-Rex has a front arm that's probably bigger than Kent's. They only look tiny because of how enormous the rest of the animal was comparatively.
It's tiny by comparison.
Right. They were actually also well-muscled. A T-Rex arm would not have been... It would have at least been much harder to pull out than a human arm.
If you could ever get a hold of one, you probably could jerk it right off.
No.
They found an ancient Babylonian cylinder seal. This is from the book by Bill Cooper, After the Flood, a tremendous book. He traces the history of what happened to Noah's 3 sons, Shem.
Okay, if this griffin with 6 limbs is going to be identified as a dinosaur, we're going to drink for that.
Ham and Japheth, where did their kids go? You know? And has found some amazing records, done great research. Now, Bill Cooper is a very sick man. He lives in England, but he's, I believe, dying of cancer. Last report I got. But this picture is from his book about a Babylonian cylinder seal. Would have been about 600 BC. Again, it shows a man pulling the arm off of a dragon.
Does it?
I don't think that's what it's doing.
Because, yeah, first, that's a griffin, so we're going to take a drink, because it's not even showing a dragon. That's clearly a griffin. Second, in what way is that man pulling the arm off of the griffin?
It's a high five.
Yeah, it looks more like a high five or a handshake, yeah. This is not good, Kent. Not good.
What a way to fight a dragon. Grab his arms. Pictures from all over the world, ancient legends, ancient pottery, shows dinosaurs on it. Here's from the book The Ancient Near East in Pictures. Shows a picture of 2 long-neck animals.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a dinosaur.
Why?
That's because you're a moron, Kent. I'm taking a drink. Hold on. This is the Narmer palette. We've covered it before, but we're going to cover it again, I guess. Alright, so let's see if I can find a nice high-definition version that will take over, and we only need the side with the long-necked lions, so we'll try to get one of that, just that. Alright, this will probably be good enough. So, switching over to the right scene again. So here we have the Narmer tablet on the side that has the actual the animals in question, right? So we can see that this is the Narmer tablet. There's a name right here. This hieroglyphic, you can barely see my mouse, so sure, that'll be good enough. Zoom in a bit. This is the name of Narmer. Narmer is here identified as this king leading captives. Here we see the headless bodies of his captives with their heads between their feet, indicating that they're defeated. We don't know exactly what this sign means, but it's probably some kind of demonym for the group of people that he's defeated. Down here we see a decorative element, and down here we see this ox is probably a symbol for the pharaoh defeating this person here in their walled city. But this is the part where we really care about, right? So what are these? Well, first, I mean, this is a lion body, right? These are little lion paws, a little lion tail, right? Then we get a long neck, but then it ends in what's clearly a lion head. Look at these. There are mammalian ears, big old fleshy lips, a little mammal nose. This is a long-necked lion, sometimes called a serpapard. Jordan Holloway for $5 says, Kent's voice gives me a headache. Yeah, that makes sense. It probably should. Okay, so, I don't know if I have to tell everyone this, but dinosaurs aren't just lions with long necks.
What?
Yeah. Weird,
That's
right?
crazy. What about dragons?
No.
Are they lions with long necks?
Also, no.
This
is actually a common artistic motif in ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia. It's sometimes called a serpapard. We don't actually have a word for this creature in any of the languages of the people who carved them or drew them. But it's clearly a long-necked lion. And also, I'm going to point out, if this is supposed to be an accurate depiction of a dinosaur, these tails are way too short. Way too short.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, sometimes it's identified as a long-necked leopard instead of a lion. Whatever. Either way, it's a cat, right? It's very clearly a felid. And not a dragon or a dinosaur or anything like that. But, of course, Kent relies on these crappy, low-quality images that are even made even lower quality by the fact that we're watching an itself low-quality VHS rip. Also, one thing you might be interested to know is that circle made by the two different lions' necks, that's actually a mixing area for pigment You add some water or some oil in there, grind your pigment in, and it's used as a makeup palette. So you put your cosmetics in there, your pigments and your liquid. Then you use a brush or a reed or something, and you apply it to your face. So like maybe you put in some pigment for like some eyeliner in there, and you draw the eyeliner on, and that's what this artifact is for. And the Serpapard's necks were used cleverly to make the depression to hold in the cosmetics. So I just think that's kind of a cool little thing. This is also one of our first instances of actual written hieroglyphics with the name Narmer. Jake Nelson for $10 says, Godzilla, Mothra, and we will take a drink for Godzilla and Mothra. Okay, so let's continue on. Now that we know more about the Narmer Palette, what it actually is, what it actually looks like, all that good stuff.
They're trying to depict here without much question.
Yeah, not much question, Kent. There's definitely no question that those lions are actually dinosaurs.
This, another piece of ancient pottery, shows two long-necked dragons and they're holding a sheep.
Even without finding the original, this is the same thing. It's two long-necked lions in a cosmetic palette. Like, they have ears. They have cute little round ears. And look how long those necks are compared to the rest of the body. Even that is way too much for any dinosaur.
And short tails again.
Yeah, and the short tails. Like, come on, man. This is just another depiction of the Serpapard. And yeah, Vishanti points out he's going to mention the Ica-stones. Oh, he's definitely going to mention the Ica-stones. Kent loves the Ica-stones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, like the textbook says, how did these people know to depict them on their pottery?
Well, first of all, that's not pottery. It's carved stone. And there's a difference. Pottery is fired clay. Stone is, stone.
Yeah.
But second, those are clearly not dinosaurs, Kent. So I don't know. They probably just made up a long-necked lion creature and went with it.
Here's a hippo tusk made of ivory.
Oh.
That was carved to be a magic wand or whatever.
I like how he says it's a hippo tusk made of ivory, as if you could have a hippo tusk made of something else. Because ivory just is tooth, and that's what hippo tusks are, because, they're tusks. It's like saying, hey, look, I found a femur made of bone. Like,
what?
Okay.
That's crazy talk.
That's what they're normally made of. Arachamian for $10 says, today I learned dinosaurs had bendy straw necks. Yes. Which, by the way, no, they did not. In case anyone's wondering.
For an Egyptian grave, found from the 12th century BC too.
Dude, that's a camel. Come on, man. That's a camel. What are we doing here? It's
definitely not a dinosaur, right?
Okay, it's either a camel or a giraffe. Like, come on, man. Both of which are known in the area. Actually, now I'm leaning towards giraffe since camels would have had a hump.
Yeah.
But, like... Okay, look, could it be a dinosaur? I guess maybe, but have you ruled out giraffe, Kent? Have you ruled out giraffe? Or camel, because actually the feet are a little bit more camel-like. But, like, yeah, overall, this... Oh my goodness, I'm taking another drink for... This is amazing. Ugh.
1,200 years before Christ, it's even before King Solomon.
Anything with a long neck is a dinosaur now, despite the fact that there are long-necked animals that are alive now. Doesn't matter. Unimportant.
Those don't count, though. For reasons.
Yeah, for reasons.
Just shows an animal.
Actually, in his museum, he has a picture that's very clearly a camel with a hump listed as a dinosaur.
Why would he do that?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is it's sort of a bluish green. And the reason for that is actually because when it was painted, it probably wasn't, but like, this is a very old fresco in a monastery in Greece. And chances are the pigments have faded over time and turned into like, so now you can see the underlying, because one of the things about, if you're looking at like Greek iconographic art, a lot of skin tones, which would include what you would normally paint a camel as, actually start with a green or a bluish green undercoat, and then you paint over that with successive layers of more flesh tones. And so it's probably just that those flesh tone colors have faded away.
Okay.
With a long neck and a long tail. Now, giraffe has a long neck.
Didn't have a long tail,
does not have a long tail.
Okay, we got to go back a little bit to see where the long tail is. Is it this little thing? Right?
It's that short tail.
Short
right
tail?
there.
Okay, that's short tail. Yeah, as Tiktaalik points out, they might be long-necked lions, but have you thought about nuh-uh? It's true, I have not thought about
That's
nuh-uh.
a good point.
Yeah,
actually.
it is. I don't have a counter. Okay, here we go.
Before Christ, it's even before King Solomon, chose an animal with a long neck and a long tail. Now, giraffe has a long neck, does not have a long tail. The only animal I know that has a long neck and a long tail.
Okay, hold on. Let's pull up a picture of a giraffe. Why am my computer making noises? Giraffe. Okay, so go to images. All right, open this image in a new tab. Zoom in a bit. I don't know, man. That looks like a tail that's perfectly consistent with what we just saw. Pretty long. I mean, if you include the tuft, it's almost dragging on the ground. Yeah, that looks like a pretty good option for what that stick figure animal was. Okay, well, thanks, Kent. Goodness. It takes so little effort to be like, yeah, no, giraffe is perfectly reasonable.
Just Google whatever he says.
I Google image search giraffe, and I've picked the first full body picture. That's literally what happened just now. Al Trucker, who's been a member for 1 month and is at the annual level, says, Kent has the intellectual honesty of an elected official, but only 1/42nd the honor. Bambara and Pebbles... Bambara and Pebbles should beat him silly with a cedar. Yes. No, I do not support any violence directed at Kentober. But yeah, it would be hilarious. My Unfinished Journey for $2 says, AIG is a rumbling rustle of ruminating roundworms. Nice. As long as they're not heartworms. Those are gross. Okay. Here we go.
Is a dinosaur. There are stories and legends from countries all over the world. Every place I travel, I see stuff like this, so I grab my camera and get a picture, you know.
Wing, who's been a member for 10 months, says, membership benefits! Godzilla, Mothra, Ghidorah, AIG is a bag of dicks emoji, plus a drink emoji, and so we shall, in fact, drink. Heather Coons, for $5, with a first super chat, says, ever heard of camelopard? It was a weird idea of what a giraffe was like, held by people who'd heard descriptions of them but had never seen one. And also, thank you very much for making this your first super chat, chatting on my channel. It is an honor. And also, yeah, so, Camelopardalis is actually like the generic name for camels, and the idea was like maybe giraffes, being such weirdos, are actually like what happens when a camel and a leopard have a baby. Maybe they're like, because like they have like the leopard-like coat, but they have like the basic shape of like a camel. So like maybe that's what happens is like a camel and a leopard have way too much fun together, and then a giraffe pops out. I was like, well, just. Interesting hypothesis, guys. Turns out, no, that's not how that works. Thankfully. But, yeah.
Oh, Kent probably thinks it works.
I mean, based on Kent's ridiculous understanding of genetics, that wouldn't surprise me. Alright, here we go.
Thai seafood restaurant showing the head of a dragon on their boat. Now, why would they build boats with dragon heads on them?
Cultural significance, yeah. Dragons are good luck charms in most of... East Asia, and I don't know if you guys know, but Bangkok is basically like, you know, it's sort of the interface between South and East Asia. It's Southeast Asia. Got a lot of influence from India and a lot of influence from China. Yeah, and that's a thing. I don't know. Also, I like Thailand. I want to go get some Thai curry.
Yeah.
Man, I ate so much curry when I was in Thailand. And I know someone who was there and was bit by a tarsier.
Ooh.
Didn't break the skin.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
There's a Russian medallion showing a man slaying a dragon.
Can't you already use St. George and the Dragon? You don't... St. George and the Dragon doesn't get to be extra evidence if you're like, yeah, but the Russians also talk about St. George and the Dragon. Like, okay, great. Wing for $5 says, giraffes were banished from the demon... were banished from the demon realm, okay. For being too weird. Yes. With a giraffe emoji. I hate this, like, This Russian medallion depicting someone killing a dragon is independent confirmation. He's got a Roman legion helmet on, and he's in the stereotypical pose of St. George killing the dragon while mounted on a rearing horse. It's just St. George again, Kent.
Oops.
I'm drinking for, like, we can count St. George as two different stories about dragons somehow.
Just count them twice.
Which, by the way, in case you don't know, St. George is one of the most popular saints in the Russian Orthodox Church. It's like him and St. Nicholas are, like, the top dogs of, like, popular saints in Russia. I mean, after, like, you know, the Virgin Mary and whatnot. But, like, yeah. Russians love St. George, and they love St. Nicholas. Not so much Santa Claus, like St. Nicholas. Well, because that's not a big part of their Christmas traditions.
A Bulgarian postage stamp has a guy slaying a dragon.
With too many limbs to be a dinosaur. Okay. Got it.
Irish writer in 900 AD reported that somebody killed a dragon with iron nails on its tail. Probably the Stegosaurus, although several dinosaurs had these big spikes on their tail.
Okay, Kent, your source for this was The Great Dragon Mystery. From what year was it? Find out. Doesn't say. But it's available from Creation Science Evangelism. Let's find out when this book is from. Okay, because I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's not from, say, the 1000s in Ireland. The Great Dinosaur Mystery. Paul Taylor. It's out of print. Let's see. Was only got a 3.8 on Thrift Books.
Is that out of 5?
Yeah. Okay, Paul S. Taylor. This is a book for kids. Kent, come on, man. It's literally a cartoon book for kids, for creationist kids. This looks like it's fewer than 100 pages long. Oh my goodness, I hate this so much.
Okay, cite your sources, but probably don't cite kids' books.
1987. This is a 1987 kids book. And here's the thing, right? If you get a claim from a 1987 kids book, that's fine, as long as what you actually go check on is the site the book uses. Or sorry, the citation the book uses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he doing that? No. We're just getting a citation to a 1987 book for babies. I'm taking a drink. That's just too dumb. And what I can also guess that's probably why he didn't put a picture of the book up there. It's like a 50-page book for babies. Oh, and also, it's an explicitly creationist book, because it has woolly mammoths and dinosaurs together with kids all in the same panel. So, Paul Taylor might be accurately reporting this, but he's not exactly an unbiased source. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, that's a fair way to say it.
Probably the Stegosaurus, although several dinosaurs had these big spikes on their tail. There are several websites about dragons. None of them that I'm aware of. Didn't read through all of them, but they're all secular. They're not at all Christian that I could see.
All right, guys, if you're a Christian listening, time to make the first Christian dragon website. Go do it. We'll make a Christian dragon website. It'll be all about dragons and Jesus. I don't know why. Go for it.
But they do keep interesting articles about dragon stories from ancient literature.
Bigwig.net. What is... Members.tripod.com. Hivemind.com. These all seem like really great sources, Kent. One of them doesn't even say dragons. Bigwig.net says snakes. What is happening right now? Let's take another drink. Oh my goodness. Imagine thinking bigwig.net. Yes. Imagine thinking bigwig.net/ski/snakes is what you should be citing to prove that dragons are real and that they're dinosaurs. Oh my goodness. This is amazing.
So if you want to get into the study of dragons, it's really pretty interesting to see all about the dragons. The Viking ships had these dragon heads on them.
Yeah, Kent. Later ships had naked ladies on them. Who cares? I guess at least naked ladies exist.
That's true.
But my evidence for that is not the ships. It's that there are ladies and that they're wearing clothes and they could be not doing that.
If you study Scandinavian literature, you can see the dragon head on this one. Ancient Scandinavian literature has an awful lot of stories about the kraken or...
That's a donkey head. Come on, man. Look at the big ears. It has a bridle. It's got a bit in its mouth and it's wearing a bridle. That's a donkey head. Come on. Don't show me the front of a ship that literally has a bit in its donkey face and then tell me it's a dragon, man. I'm taking a drink for that. That is ridiculous. My drink is almost out. It's almost time to go on break. Jake Nelson for $10 says, the stupid is strong with this one. It really is. It's so painful. But yeah, also, people put mermaids on the front of ships. Does that make mermaids real?
Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
The giant dragons of the sea. Well, you figure the Vikings are the guys that are going around the ocean in their boats, conquering villages.
Raiding more than conquering. The Vikings actually really did very little conquering. The places where they settled tended to be largely uninhabited, like Iceland, or they settled in like relatively uninhabited parts of Greenland. But like, they didn't go in like conquer a village and like set up shop. There are a few Viking cities in what are now not very Viking territories. Like Dublin was established by the Vikings, but it's not clear that there was a pre-Viking settlement there. Or if there was, probably wasn't conquered directly by the Vikings. So like,
Where's the hardest place to exterminate an animal totally? In the water, yeah. Especially the ocean.
I mean, tell that to all the whales humans have virtually driven to extinction.
On land, you could eventually corner it, figure out some way to get it, but on the ocean, you'd have a tough time.
What about in outer space, Kent?
Well, the other thing with this one is it's like, the water might be harder, but like, if we're talking about reptiles, we're not talking about dinosaurs, but if we're talking about marine reptiles, these are animals that have to surface to breathe. They can't just dive under the water and just stay there. They're gonna come back up. So like, it's not as hard as Ken thinks. That's why whales are not easy to hunt, but like, it's possible to hunt them to extinction. They have to surface. They're coming back up.
Yeah.
And so there are this is from 1000 AD. Here we have evidence of dragons living with man just 1,000 years ago. In the book called The Unexplained, there's information about this. There's also an account of a dragon.
Megan Ring for $5 says, Dragons and Jesus sounds like a Christian D&D group. Okay, you say that, but there's an actual Christian role-playing game with dragons as the main antagonists, and instead of casting spells, you have to memorize, as a player, Bible verses, and then recite the Bible verse for the magical effect to take hold. And the dragons represent sin, and you're trying to bring the wonders of, like, fantasy Christianity to the continent ruled by dragons who are servants of Satan. Literally.
Yikes.
It's a whole thing. I think, what was it called? I don't remember what it was called, but I've played it. Because of course I have.
Was it fun?
You know what? It actually was, but part of it is like, okay, you can turn a really bad tabletop RPG into a fun time with a good group and a good GM.
Yeah.
So, was it called Dragon Quest? That sounds too simple. But now I have to check, because now I have to know, was this called Dragon Quest? The Christian TTRPG. I think it might have been. I think it actually was reissued not that long ago. No, it wasn't Dragon Quest. Let's see, what was it? Search for Christian TTRPG. See what it was called. Find. No, not Holy Lands. Dragon Raid is what it was called. Dragon Raid. Yes. I have played Dragon Raid, the Christian TTRPG, which interestingly was actually published while like the Satanic Panic and the anti-D&D thing was still going. So it actually caught flack for basically just being D&D, even though it was all like very explicitly Christian. Yeah, someone is honking a horn. Thank you. Look, here's the thing. It's not a good game. However, you can make it fun. And I played like with my brother, and there was a fun critical hit table where he managed to use an arrow to punch a dragon right through the eye with an arrow, and it died immediately because of lucky rolls on the critical hit table and whatnot. and that was cool. And like, you know, we had a good GM for it, and it was just a play test. Like, we didn't run a campaign. So, what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna take a break because it is the top of the hour, and we will be back shortly. But in the meantime, enjoy the musical stylings of Beethoven while I go and refresh my drink, because at this point, the liquid that's in here is almost all just melt from the ice and not actual gin and tonic, which is kind of defeating the purpose.
Second drink, though.
True. All right. See you in a few minutes, everybody. And we are back. Hello, everybody. So now that we're back, quick few things. One is to say thank you very much for all the support. I really appreciate it. We have over 100 people watching. We peaked around 120 or something. But I'm noticing only about half the people here have hit like, please do hit like. It helps immensely. Second, this channel is almost entirely supported through the direct support of my viewers, fans, and whatnot. Some of the best ways to do that include becoming a channel member and or joining the Patreon. Those help keep things relatively stable, so I have a good idea as to how much it's going to come in month to month from the channel. You can get your name in the credits. You can get early access to months worth of videos. I think right now I'm actually like 5 months ahead of schedule. Like if I make a video right now, I don't think it's coming out until like September or November or something.
It's a while.
Yeah, like you've got a lot of time to just catch up on all the new stuff. But also, if that's not for you, you don't want any of that stuff, there's a merch store. There's an Amazon wishlist for both me and Bent. Those help immensely. And if none of that's right, just hit like, share this video with people you think would like it, put in comments, all that stuff helps. But with that, I now have a fresh gin and tonic. Bent, you have a fresh, what is that, iced tea?
Fresh iced tea, yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into this.
Dragon called Nithhagar that the Vikings was killed in the book After the Flood by William Cooper.
Trudy Subs for $1.99 says, off work early and first time watching for my partner. Well, first, congratulations. And also, I hope that your partner is enjoying because, I mean, I'm having fun.
For Bill Cooper. According to the Norse legend, Siegfried slew the dragon Fafnir. That was, the dragon had made its home in a cave, and somebody else had buried a treasure in that cave.
Okay.
I'm sure the dragon didn't know that and didn't care.
Okay, but Kent, Norse mythology also has things like Loki turning into a horse. Not just a horse, a mare, to distract the stallion that someone else had been using to do work for the gods that they didn't want to pay for. And then Loki got pregnant and gave birth to an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. Is that true? What?
I don't know if Kent Hovind's been exposed to the idea of fiction in stories.
Yeah, no, apparently not.
Everything must be nonfiction.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to say, if we want to start taking Norse mythology seriously, we're going to have to accept a lot of stuff that Kent probably doesn't want to. But also, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to H-Plan, Margaret Zelensky, 3Can Sam, Keisler, and Derek Henrik. And also Olivia William, who's been a member for 12 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says to celebrate my 1-year membership with him, and then sends a Mothra emoji. And hey, look at that. You got the 1-year badge, which is a Ceratosaurus skull, which I think is pretty cool. So we now have to drink 6 times. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ooh, with that fresh, very, very cold. That's actually getting close to the brain freeze area.
Uh-oh.
Woo!
Be careful.
I know, right? Okay, here we go.
But people wanted the treasure, of course, so you got to kill the dragon to get to it. There are several different stories about how Siegfried slew the dragon. Of course, you know.
Oh, by the way, we're about $51 away from making Bent wear a tutu next time as well. So, just, you know, in case anyone wanted to make Bent continue to suffer because it's hot now. What is it, like 40 degrees?
I don't do Celsius. So
Why don't you do Celsius?
Because I'm in America.
Oh, just do it.
I'd rather do Kelvin.
Okay, well,
it's more absolute.
I've checked. It's 32 degrees right now.
It's warm. It's warm.
It is warm.
But that's okay.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even know what the actual temperature was. I just knew it was hot. So. But yeah, if you want to keep making Benthoven suffer, send in more super chats.
For your viewing pleasure.
Right, exactly. Okay.
The legends get twisted with time. One story says he dug a pit because they knew the only soft part of the dragon was his belly.
That's the same legend. That's the Fafnir legend, Kent. It's not a different legend. I'm just taking a drink for Kent Hovind doesn't even know what legend he's talking about. He thinks that the Russian St. George is somehow different from like the English St. George, and that like the Fafnir killing the dragon is a different story from the Fafnir killing the dragon by digging a pit and hiding in it and stabbing up as the dragon passes over. I just, ugh. Oh, also, Savage Cobra Kinda Official has gifted 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So let's find out who they went to, and then we will take drinks for them. So those went to Kaylee P., Robert Carter, Memento Mori Chung, Kevin Webster, and is that 5? Miss anyone? 1, 2... Oh, I did! Naragon L. Sorry about that, Naragon L. Was also gifted a membership. I don't know how I missed that. But send in your tetrapod emojis, not your pelagic tunicate emojis. You don't want to insult people as they join the channel. But we will take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Vishanti just sending nothing but pelagic tunicates. We should ban Vishanti at some point for this vile behavior.
I think that one Benthoven no relation guy did the same thing.
Oh my goodness. That's it. He's gone from the channel. No more Benthoven no relation. All right, here we go.
So he dug a pit and laid in this pit until the dragon went over him, and then he jabbed his sword up into the dragon's belly. Mm-hmm. That's one story.
What does that have to do with dinosaurs, Ken? You know, dinosaurs had belly ribs, right? Their bellies actually weren't soft spots. They had actual protective ribs down there. They're called gastralia. Most museum mounts don't display them because they're hard to do, but they existed. Some museum mounts do have gastralia. I just... I hate it. Dragons aren't like armadillos with no belly ribs. They had belly ribs. They're like crocodiles. Dr. Tapioca Weasel, I'll let you know if I actually want you to ban someone.
Another one is he just charged up there and just stabbed it in the heart, you know.
Oh, you know what? Fearmonger Official just put in a bunch of Vishanti emojis, which is a good point. It's going to be hard to ban someone who has their own emoji on the channel.
Who knows how it really happened. But Carl Schuker is a scientist in England, has a great book called Dragons, A Natural History. I've got it in my library.
Okay, who wants to bet that Dragons in Natural History is a hypothetical natural history of dragons as if they were real creatures? Let's find out. If I could get my hands on Combe Row, that would help. History... Carl Schuker. Here we go. I'm going to read the Amazon description. This is a book from January 1st, 1995 by Carl P. N. Schuker. An overview of the world of dragons from ancient Greece and medieval Europe to present America and Colombia and ancient China features lore about origins, feats, and histories of these mysterious beasts. From book list, if you ever encounter a dragon, it would be good to have this book on hand. Thanks to it, you'll be able to recognize the particular species of the beast that you have met, whether worm, basilisk, cockatrice, tarrasque, haluda, or mere dragonette. Knowing such information could keep you from accidentally feeding a baby wyvern, as a girl named Maud did here in Herefordshire. Whereupon it grew into a winged monster that terrorized the countryside until it was finally dispatched by a fearless knight, charmingly written and gorgeously illustrated with dragons, ranging from Babylonian Ishtar's guard dragons as portrayed in the mosaic bas-relief to Quetzalcoatl, or I guess I should say Quetzalcoatl, in Mayan codices, the creature St. George famously fought. This is an excellent popular folklore tome. Not even pretending to be an actual sober natural history of dragons. It's a collection of multicultural folklore about dragons. Heather Kuhn for $10 says, Fafnir was the dragon. Depending on the version, the guy who kills him was named Sigurd or Siegfried. Also, Fafnir started out as human but became a dragon because of greed. Look up the ring cycle. Which is actually, that Fafnir becoming a dragon is actually the inspiration for the kid becoming a dragon in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. I don't know if you remember that bit. There's a kid who becomes a dragon. Yeah. And that is that. Yeah, that is true. All right, here we go.
Story after story of people slaying dragons down through history. Marco Polo reported in his memoirs, when he came back from China, he said, the emperor in China...
Hey, fun fact. Who wrote The Travels of Marco Polo? Was it Marco Polo? You might be able to guess by the fact that I'm just asking the question.
I'm gonna say no.
That is correct. It was not Marco Polo. It was, in fact, the guy he shared a prison cell with.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I don't care what those travel logs of Marco Polo say. They're not even written by Marco Polo.
I'm sure
And
he
raises-
exaggerated his stories when
Yeah.
he was telling his prison mate.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. You're sitting around in prison, in a cell, in a tower, in medieval Italy. What else are you going to do but tell tall tales?
Dragons to pull chariots in his parades.
How do you know they weren't just actual people in dragon costumes, which is a thing that happens right now in China? Like, have you ever seen a dragon dance? Because I have. Those are real things. They're really cool, all right?
Yeah,
Right? Like, there's this really big, elaborate dragon costume with, like, a puppeteered head. It opens its mouth and blinks its eyes and everything. Like, it's really cool. I'm sure it takes an incredible amount of skill to perform those things and keep everyone coordinated and having the whole dragon actually look like it's a dragon dancing through the... Like, usually it's done as, like, part of a parade or something. Really cool. But, like, have we ruled out that this is just what's happening? Because that would seem more plausible. Dragon dance with a chariot. I don't know.
Ceremonial dragons. Well, all you have to do is go to India.
Yeah, China still has ceremonial dragons. They're people in costumes. Very cool, but also not real dragons.
Real people.
Yeah, real people, not real dragons.
Chinese restaurant, and you'll see dragons all over the place. It's just a part of their culture.
Yes, Kent. I'm taking a drink. Hold on.
They're for real.
Kent, Chinese dragons have hairy beards and deer antlers and mammal ears and scales and the claws of birds. These aren't real creatures. They certainly aren't dinosaurs. I want Kent to tell me which dinosaur has deer antlers. I'd be very curious. Because I can tell you right now, no known dinosaurs have deer antlers. In case anyone's wondering. Goodness. This is... I'm taking a second drink for... I can't handle the dragons with deer antlers. Yeah, it really is. My goodness.
Over in China, you probably saw them all over, didn't you?
Well, they have a different connotation than we do.
Also, how come Kent isn't pushing for the historical reality of Kirin? Sometimes called like the Chinese unicorn, but it's like another scaly beast, but it has like cloven hooves like a deer and has like the basic body shape of a horse. But then it also has like one antler like horn. What? I mean, that's just as ridiculous as a...
Maybe not. Maybe he hasn't heard of it.
Yeah, maybe not.
I bet he would believe in that.
Maybe he would say that's just a different kind of dinosaur. Oh, and Johnny Rapine says Cervidosaurus. I like it. Cervidosaurus.
West, you see, they represent the king. They're very positive. In the West, they're bad.
In China, the dragon represents the king, and it's very good. Interesting. But why on earth would Marco Polo come back and say the emperor is raising dragons to pull chariots in his parades?
First, if he said it at all, and it was historical, it could have been a dragon dance. Second, given that these were prison stories told to pass the time, there's every chance it was an exaggeration. And third, given that this wasn't actually reported by Marco Polo, but by the guy he was telling stories to, we don't even know if it was actually a story that Marco Polo wrote, or said, or talked about. There's so many points at which this could just not be a story about actual dragons pulling a chariot. And also, I just want to point out, there's no physical evidence for Chinese dragons actually existing. Whatsoever. There are no bones, no bodies, no scales, not even any photographs. Okay.
I think it's probably because the emperor was raising dragons to pull chariots in his parades.
Yeah, sure, Kent, maybe. I'm just gonna take... Oh, by the way, guys, I'm seeing some 50 people who haven't hit like, so help me out.
Marco Polo was an extremely famous man.
That's true.
He wouldn't
We'll
want to
take a
do
drink.
something dumb and jeopardize his reputation, I don't think. Anyway, a city
Yeah, that's maybe why he never actually wrote a book that said that. And instead someone else did.
in France was renamed Nurlug in honor of the man who slew the dragon in the city. I think if we actually could get an unperverted view of history, we would see there's an awful lot of legends that are based on some...
By the way, that picture... Oh, go back a second. Yeah, near as I can tell, that's from that kid's book that he was citing. And actually, he just said it. The Great Dinosaur Mystery, page 40.
We even gave a page number this time.
Yeah, that's that book for kids. I'm going to go ahead and say that there's no evidence that there was a Triceratops in medieval France.
What is with all of those fingers?
Yeah, it's got weird human arms. I don't know what's up with that. But also, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, which I believe puts us past the... it puts us past the tutu threshold. But also, thank you very much, Dr. Tapioca Weasel. And they were gifted to Andrometheus. That's what I'm going to go for now. If that's wrong, let me know. Arthur Ams, Attila Conceição, which I probably butchered because I don't speak any Portuguese. Sorry about that. Donnie G and Funk Dragon 76. Welcome to the channel. Everyone send tetrapods. Don't scare people away by sending pelagic tunicats. You're just going to turn people off the channel.
You know what to do.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Here's 5 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, I just want to repeat. It's okay if you heard about this story from a kid's book, right? Being from a kid's book doesn't make it wrong. But if you want to cite something in support of this, you have to go check into where the kid's book got it. What's his source? And then cite that. Don't just directly cite the book for babies.
Kids book, man.
Goodness. It's like citing C-Spot Run for evidence that dogs are fast. Like, I mean, yeah, Spot did run in the book, I guess. But, maybe not the right source to use. I don't know.
I think if we actually could get an unperverted view of history, we would see there's an awful lot of legends that are based on some kind of real story. If you go to the Grand Canyon, you will find carvings on the walls of the Grand Canyon.
That's true. We'll take a drink. We're being very generous with the that's true.
You got something right, finally.
Okay, here we go.
The Indians did this all over. They call them pictograph, including a picture of a dinosaur. If you look...
Oh, I know this one. Okay, we'll let him get it in.
Look at dinosaurs, many of them had the...
Okay, this is supposed to be an Edmontosaurus. It's actually a bird, in case anyone's wondering. Well, let get Kent a little bit more into here, but that's not how any dinosaur looked, in case anyone's wondering. Let's see if Kent also identifies it as an Edmontosaurus, as most creationists do.
Upright posture, we call that. They walk on 2 legs, and the front 2 legs, we assume, were, held up off the ground.
Yeah, except that the back was parallel to the ground, Kent. Like you see in Jurassic Park, or in modern birds for the most part. Goop23 says, gonna cite the Cat in the Hat for evidence of cats. Oh, goodness.
Similar to an ostrich, I guess, upright posture. Though
No!
What?
Kent! Oh my goodness, now I have to find an ostrich skeleton to show it to you
Has
guys.
Kent not seen an ostrich before?
I don't think so, apparently not. Okay, ostrich skeleton. We'll go to images. And then we will get a nice... do we have... Oh, okay, good. Here's a photograph. Okay, because I didn't want to just, show some art or something. Okay. So, we're going to zoom in. And then I'm going to switch... Well, first, I have a super chat. So, DM Wing for $2 says, those are just lines on rocks, Kent. That's so true. It's literally true.
That's
Okay.
good.
Okay. So here's an ostrich skeleton. So one of the things I want to point out about this ostrich skeleton, right, is that if you look at the vertebrae, the thoracic vertebrae, the sacral vertebrae, and the caudal vertebrae are all more or less parallel to the ground. They're not upright. It's only when you get to basically like the distal 2/3 of the cervical vertebrae that you can say that they're more or less upright. In fact, before that, they actually dip down before coming back up. That is not at all what we were just shown by Kentober. Not in the least. So when Kent is like, that's just like an ostrich. No, it's not. Further, thanks for helping say that you think that there's a chance that there's some connection between birds and dinosaurs, Kent. I mean, you did it for the stupidest possible reason, but, you know.
He did it while getting it wrong.
Right.
Classic Kent.
Goodness. Okay. Let's continue on with Kent. This is this worse than normal?
It's a little worse than normal.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because
It's just one after another with him today.
It really is. At least this one's funny. I don't feel bad. Like sometimes when Kent talks, I'm just like, oh, now I'm just depressed because this is terrible. But at least this time I'm like, okay, this is basically hilariously dumb. So I'll give it that.
Some animals like frogs that walk on 4 legs.
Frogs barely ever walk. They mostly hop, and they mostly hop with their back legs. The Scriptic Mystic for $5 says, several slanderous salacious sticks soak in sweltering satchel, which I believe is a reference to AIG, so we'll take a drink for it. Thank you very much. Okay.
The front 2 are real tiny, the back 2 are really big.
That's a
So
different
the size
one.
of the leg doesn't mean he didn't walk on it, necessarily. But why would they carve dragons on the walls of the Grand Canyon?
They didn't. They drew a bird. Literally a bird. Velvet Magenta for $20 says, just watch an old Kent with Bent, number 5 or 7 or something, sending some love to Dapper Dinosaur, and oh, how much for a bare-faced Bent? Bent, how much would it cost for you to shave?
$100,000.
Wow.
No, $1,000.
1,000. Does that have to come in over the course of the whole stream, or like is that a single super chat? Like, what's the deal here?
Yeah, for the whole stream.
For the whole stream? Okay. Here you go, guys. If we can get to $1,000, we're not terribly close to that. We're let's see. How far are we? We're only like $760 away.
It's possible.
Oh, I forgot Goopdu super chat. No, I didn't. I read it. Unless there was another Goopdu super chat that I missed. No, I definitely read the one about the cat in the hat. You remember that, right, Bent?
I do.
Okay. But just in case, Goop2 for $2 said, gonna cite the cat in the hat for evidence of cats. Just in case I didn't. I'm very confident I did, though. Okay, here we go. No, now, Ben, you know that I'm gonna like keep track of that 1,000. If we ever hit 1,000, I'm gonna remind you, and you're gonna have to shave or be a liar.
All right.
Okay. Also, for $2, Savage Cobra Kinda Official says, as opposed to bald-faced Kent. Well, that's just Kent in general.
It can't grow a beard like this.
Probably not. He does not seem like he's got enough T. He's a low T. No, I just feel dirty now after saying low T. Never mind. Forget that joke.
Here's another one with a round body, 4 legs, long.
Okay, so he's not going to go into the Edmontosaurus, but we are going to actually bring up an Edmontosaurus so that people can see what the actual animal looks like versus what we were shown. So we're going to look at Edmontosaurus regalis. You'll never guess around what city Edmontosaurus was first discovered, Bent.
I will guess Edmonton.
How did you guess?
I'm a good guesser.
Oh my goodness, you are a good guesser. Well done. Yeah, Edmonton. But what country is that in?
Canada.
Let me zoom out.
I know I'm close.
Okay, this website doesn't want to let me zoom out, so we're picking a different picture. Hey, you know what? We're actually going to use the one... No, that's too small. I was going to say we'll actually use the one from Jurassic Park. Because for some reason, Jurassic Park actually got Edmontosaurus pretty down. Like, it was impressive.
Good.
And I want to give them credit for that. So actually, now we are going to use that. So let's see. This is what Edmontosaurus actually would have looked like. And despite Kent saying that it was bipedal, it was almost certainly quadrupedal, at least while walking. It may have been a facultative biped, especially while running at high speed. So it might be that when it was running, it would shift its back up a little bit to shift the center of weight further back, and then it would run on its larger, more robust back feet. Now, part of this is you got to remember, archosaurs are generally back foot dominant, so most of the propulsive force, even in quadrupedal archosaurs, is coming from the back feet anyway. So that might kind of make sense. Now, this one has a few inaccuracies. There's too many fingernails on the forefeet, and the fingers are a little bit too distinct. We actually have mummies of hadrosaur manus regions, of the hand region, the foreleg, I don't know what you call it. But it looks like it actually had one big old claw at the front that was very hoof-like, and the fingers were sort of like put in the same like sheath of flesh. But overall, for a Jurassic Park design, this is actually very, very, very good. So that's why I'm showing it off, because I appreciate it when Jurassic Park does a good job. So here we go. Back to Kent.
Neck, long tail. Dr. Delancey was a dentist.
Steve Marino says, stop sassing Jurassic Park, Dappa. Then sends a chat emoji, which is always fun. Which, by the way, is in fact profanity, so I will not translate it for you. But trust me, it's not nice. Look, here's the thing. Jurassic Park brought the 90s the best paleontology of the 80s. But then it also brought the 2020s the best paleontology of the 1980s. And it's like, hey guys, we could move on from nearly half a century old paleontology, couldn't we? And the answer is like, nah. We'll have Dr. Wu give some explanation about how they just decided to make the dinosaurs scarier, and that'll be it. That'll be the explanation. Very inconvenient, really. All right, here we go.
In Pennsylvania, who took these pictures. His wife, Margaret Delancey.
That's not how you say Dappa. All right, fine. I'll try to say it better. Stop sassing Jurassic Park, Dappa. Is that better? Is it Dappa? Dappa. It's supposed to be like that guy who wanted to behead me. I'm pretty sure that's where people get it. I haven't watched that recently enough. But I do appreciate his rendition of an even gayer version of In the Navy, which is just chef's kiss right there. Like, mwah. You managed to make a song by the Village People even more gay. Well done, sir. That takes skill. And perhaps, maybe that indicates just how in touch, who is that? Faithful, Honest, and True is with the LGBTQ plus crowd. As a fundamentalist Christian, it's not normally what you expect, but good job, man. Also, DM Wing for $5 says, remember, Dapper, science hasn't changed since Darwin, hence the tripodal dino is correct. Even in Darwin's day, that wasn't a thing. No one thought the dinosaurs were tripods like kangaroos. Savage Cobra Kinda Official says, Young Earth Creationists, there's science newer than half a century?
What?
Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? Okay.
His widow, she lives in Percy, Pennsylvania, right? I've preached up in that city 4 or 5 times, right near there, Sellersville, and just north of Philadelphia. That's south. You're from Allentown, though, right?
Ben, watch out. We're a quarter of the way to you shaving your beard.
I'm not worried.
Okay.
I can always grow a new one.
South of Scranton. Yeah. He's the one who took these pictures, and she let me use these. In the Aboriginal caves in Australia, there are many legends.
The Aboriginal caves? That's a weird way to put it. The caves are just caves. The people are Aboriginal because it means the original inhabitants. But, okay, whatever. Let's talk about this turtle and talk about why maybe this turtle is a dinosaur. Even though it's pretty obviously a turtle.
Legends of dragons from caves in
I'm
Australia.
taking a drink. It's just a turtle, man.
This was just sent to me. Agawa Rock Art from, however you pronounce that, Lake Superior Provincial Park, Ontario, Canada. Notice
it's a water panther. It's a panther with scales, spikes on its back, and it's aquatic. You guys let me know which part of that makes you think of dinosaur. Because it doesn't it doesn't make me think of a dinosaur.
None part of it.
the outline of the dragon with the bumps on his back.
It's literally called
This
a
is
water...
called cliff art. Rock.
It's a water panther. The people don't even call it a dragon. They call it a water panther because it's shaped like a panther and it lives in the water. And then they also said it was scaly and spiky. I'm taking a drink. Not even called a dragon by the people who this comes from. My goodness. And I should be insulted because you know what? What little Native American ancestry I have is from this region. So he's technically insulting a very tiny proportion of my ancestors. Well, the ancestors of my human family, you know, because I was adopted into a human family.
You were adopted into a human family, yeah.
Yeah.
Rock art. There's another name for this. Some people call it Oopart. That'd be a good quiz question. OOP
Ooparts.
means out of place. Out of place artifacts. And so they get the name Oopart.
Number of known confirmed Ooparts in the world, 0.
That's just a slogan that people use. So if you find something that shouldn't...
It's not a slogan, Kent. It's an acronym. Acronyms and slogans aren't the same thing. It's taking a drink for Kent doesn't know what a slogan is.
He didn't teach English for 15 years.
Steve Rose says, I don't like how you say just a turtle, Dappa. Okay, look. Fair, turtles are great, and I'm not trying to diss turtles. However, when you show me a picture of a turtle and tell me it's a mysterious ancient creature that's evidence of late surviving non-avian dinosaurs, I feel like saying just a turtle is justified there. I'm also still seeing nearly 40 people who haven't hit like, and I'm very hurt. I will cry after this during the watch party of Power Rangers that we do for our after show. I will mute myself and sob because of the 40-ish people who didn't hit like.
Or Dapper.
I know, it's very sad. DM Wing says, "Were you for $2? Were you drawn at the canyon, Dapper?" No, not that I'm aware of.
Not yet.
And I've been to the canyons and I've seen park rangers there, and you would expect that if I had been drawn there, some park ranger would pull me aside and say, "Sir, are you a Ceratosaurus?" And I would say yes. And they'd say, "Well, I would like to inform you that your genus has been depicted on rock art here in the canyon." And I would say, "Oh, that's amazing. Can I see it?" And then they'd probably say something like, "No, it's been closed to the public." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, thanks." But that hasn't happened. And I've been there 3? Is it 3 times?
I don't know. Sure.
How many times have you and I gone? Because I'm pretty sure those are the only times I've gone.
Oh,
I know it's at least 2.
No, I've been. I think it's 2
Okay, 2.
because I've been a third time.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Anyway.
Be there.
Also, DM Wing for $2 says turtle is best tetrapod. Look, I'm not going to say that it's definitely the best tetrapod. However, I'm not going to dispute it either. They're pretty cool. Although, also, they have their shoulders inside their rib cage, which is weird.
That is very.
Very, very weird. Actually, if you look at the embryological development of a turtle, the shoulder girdle starts outside the rib cage and then comes like under it. It like flips under it during embryological development. It's just absolutely crazy.
Interesting.
If you're digging down in the ground and you're down in area where it should be from, 500 years ago from some Indian civilization, and you find an Evinrude outboard motor, that would be an out-of-place artifact, right?
Sure.
That shouldn't be there. So Oopart is out-of-place artifacts, things that really shouldn't be there. This type of stuff is by the evolutionist. A person who believes in evolution often will classify this kind of material as, we don't understand it, it's an enigma, forget it.
I mean, there are mysterious artifacts. Is Kent just saying that there shouldn't be mysterious artifacts? I don't know what his point is here.
That's his point.
Okay, maybe. That's dumb. I'm
Sounds
going
like
to
it
take a
to
drink
me.
for it. Okay.
I've got whole books of these enigmas that they can't explain. Down in Lima, Peru, if you go south about 8 hours drive through the
We're getting to Ica stones.
mountains, you come to the city of Ica.
Mm-hmm. Take a drink.
Ica,
That was
Peru
pretty
is
good.
right near the desert that is the driest desert in the world. My understanding is it's only rained once
Atacama Desert.
there in 400 years.
I don't know, but maybe.
Not a good place for a garden. But the Spanish came through this area about 400 years ago, in the late 1500s. They came through and they saw these strange white lines.
Wait, wouldn't that be 500 years ago? you said 1400s? Wouldn't that be?
I wasn't.
No,
I
you said
wasn't doing that.
1500s. And whatever.
Not very wide,
I think you just got the time frame wrong.
but there were these
But also, I'm drunk and I'm not super remembering the number very well. So, sorry, guys. There's been a lot of gin. I enjoy gin.
57 gins.
57 gin drinks. Which, no, that's not shots. I'd be dead. Don't ask. Not shots. It's like, each of my drinks is like a tablespoon or so.
white lines, just somebody scratched like a plow on a field. Perfectly straight lines, for a long ways.
Kent, are you talking about the Nasca lines or the Ica stones? Pick one. But also, the Nasca lines don't have any dinosaurs either.
Nobody knew what they were until airplanes were invented. When you get way up in the sky, you notice these are pictures of giant images.
Pictures of giant images? They're just giant images, Kent. The pictures that are taken of them are pictures of giant images. I can't. I'm gonna drink.
It's just...
Heard of those before? The Nasca desert lines,
I'm gonna write that down.
They have spiders and hummingbirds, and 4 or 5 miles long.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they go right, you come to a mountain, it stops, you go on the other side of the mountain, and it takes off in an exact straight line.
Okay, the NB said Nasca isn't in the Atacama Desert. To be fair, I don't think Kent said Atacama. I just thought that's what he was talking about. So I don't want to put words in Kent's mouth that he said Atacama Desert. So, yeah,
So these guys really knew something about surveying.
Cross-Platform Adventures points out, technically the Nasca lines have a hummingbird. That's true, that is a dinosaur. But it's not a non-avian dinosaur, which is what Kent's really talking.
And mathematics to be able to do this. Or, there's another reasonable theory, I think. They had flight.
Oh my goodness. And you don't need flight to plan out a rudimentary sketch of a spider. That's ridiculous. Ancient people weren't stupid, right? They weren't any more stupid than, well, I was going to say than you are, but I'm talking to Kent. So we'll talk to the audience. The people of the ancient past aren't stupider than you all are, right? They had less accumulated knowledge and less technology, but they weren't just dumb. They could make a spider.
They knew how to fly.
No.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago.
I just can't.
Okay.
Here's people after the flood living to be 400 years.
Kent, if they could fly, I would hope that they would have made a better spider than that. Because that spider is pretty iffy.
You could learn a lot in 400 years. People before the flood are 900 years old. You could really learn a lot in 900 years. Plus, you can go talk to your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather because he's still alive. You can get all this. The wisdom would be incredible, the knowledge that was preserved.
So they had flight, but we don't have any evidence of the Nascas having, like, iron metallurgy or steel.
No.
Or concrete.
They could fly.
Oh, they
like
personally.
Superman.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's it. At least that wouldn't leave much archaeological evidence. Whereas if they had airplanes, which is, I think, what he's actually trying to get at. I mean,
Maybe.
Where's the evidence of any of this? What fuel did they use? What?
Hot air balloons.
Yeah. Maybe. That at least probably might not leave huge amounts of evidence.
In the Smithsonian, they have, and I'll show you when I get to video number 7, our question answer, we've got a whole section on was ancient man primitive. We have a book.
It depends on what you mean. They had primitive technology. Were they primitive biologically? No, not more than modern humans. The biology of ancient man is essentially identical to that of modern man, at least if you're talking about like the last few thousand years. The last tens of thousands of years, really. Yeah, Cargo of Room says, wait, wasn't this about dragons? Yeah, at one point it was.
Point, yeah.
But now it's about ancient alien conspiracy theories that Kent has just taken the aliens out of. DM Link for $2 says, wouldn't that make Nasca lines pre-flood? Yeah, I think it would, because Kent is talking about like the really, really old ages that you don't get in the Bible or after the flood. So, yeah, he's definitely taking like mixing up like long ages, post-flood and pre-flood. Yeah, that's what I meant.
As a matter of fact, on that topic, here that we sell. Or we do sell the book After the Flood by Bill Cooper. I forgot about that. We just started carrying that. The Puzzle of Ancient Man is a great book, which shows, for instance...
At least this time, he's not recommending the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Because he does recommend that. And in case you guys don't know, Kent Hovind, he might even still sell it. But, yeah, it's basically something that was published as more or less a satirical newspaper, like, article that was then picked up in Russia, attributed to a bunch of rabbis, and then published as an anti-Semitic forgery, basically. Like, we know where it came from. It came from a satirical newspaper article. There's no chance at all that it's real. That it was really the minutes of a meeting of a bunch of rabbis trying to take over the world. But Kent's like, wow, you should watch this. You should, or not watch it, read this.
Read it.
And he's like, the only part I'm a little skeptical is I don't think that they're all Jews. I'm like, well, I guess thanks for slightly toning down the anti-Semitism, Kent, but you're still recommending people read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, Kent. Saying, well, I think the Jewish part is a little iffy. Doesn't help all that much. Imagine openly promoting anti-Semitic conspiracies, but then being like, but maybe it's not the Jews. And then thinking that just makes it okay.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's, oh my goodness. Like, oh, it's the Rothschilds. I just don't care they're Jewish. Oh, okay. Thanks. Doesn't help anything. Ugh.
Since pictures of things that are found in graves that just shouldn't be there. Like a grave in South America, they found an airplane. This grave was at least 1,000 years old.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now we have to do the Tolima Jet. Because of course we do. So let's look at the Tolima Jet. We'll find images of it. Okay, here it is from the History Channel. Because the History Channel loves all that crap. So let me get the image up. Give me a second, guys. I love how low res this image is, and it says History HD. Alright. So here is an image of the figurine that is being talked about. So this is in fact a grave good, and it is from Tolima. A Savage Cobra Kinda official for $5 says AIG is a bag of silicone reproductive organ substitutes. Technically not a bag of dicks. That would be a bag of something else that starts with a D that I'm not sure I can say on YouTube. But the archaeologists like to pretend isn't what things are when they dig up things that are obviously that. So, in case you're wondering. Okay, so a few things. What's the power for this? I don't see engines or a propeller anywhere. Also, I learned today that when the US military was actually testing their first jet plane, they actually mounted a fake propeller on it for when it was on the runway so that no one knew that they were testing a non-propeller plane. And the guy who flew it in a gorilla costume while wearing a hat and smoking a cigar, so that when people reported what they saw, which was a plane with no propeller being piloted by a gorilla smoking a cigar, the military just actually gaslit them. David B.
Gaslighting someone?
I know,
That's
right?
Impossible.
David B. 22585, who's been a member for 8 months and at the amulet level, says, it's hard to believe after all this time that my incredibly harsh opinion of Kent was actually giving him too much credit. Yeah, it's hard to be harsh enough to Kent. He's an absolutely abominable human being. He's one of the worst people I've ever heard of. The only reason he's not worse is because he doesn't have the power to be worse. Okay, so this does not have a method of propulsion. Also, if you look at the leading edge of these quote-unquote wings, both the forewings and the aft wings, you'll see things that would make it very hard for this thing to fly. So, bear with me here for a second while I take a look and see if I can pull up what this actually is. But one of the things about the Tolima, or these figurines, which were found, is that most of them depict insects, fish, and lizards. So, could this be such a thing? Well, maybe. Let's see if I can find what this might actually be depicting. So one of the things that you'll notice is that these are all very heavily stylized pictures of animals. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This is a good picture. Oh, didn't want to do that. Okay, so Too Young to Feel This Old for $5 says, good job, or good glob, I'm super late. Just got here, delighted to see an Ancient Aliens classic on screen as soon as I start watching, though. Yeah. All right, so, this is a catfish. This is our jet. You get a vertical tail, you get 2 sets of horizontal wings, you get frilly bits on the front. And this catfish is from the area where the jet was found. So, it's just a catfish. That's it. It's
Not
just
a jet.
Yeah, it's not a jet. It's just a catfish.
Just a fish.
Also, Too Young to Feel This Old just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Surf, Lady Lumo, Spooky McGee, Yellow Wyvern, and Pseudo Didact. And we also have a super chat from Savage Cobra Kinda Official who says, what is supposed to hold the vertical stabilizer on? It's not like it bears any aerodynamic loads or anything. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing just falls apart as an actual jet. And you get people who are like, oh, we made a model of this thing. We didn't change a thing. Except, you know, they added a propeller and removed all these little bits that would make it unbelievably aerodynamic. Other than that, they didn't change a thing. Like, well, that's some pretty important things there that you changed. But let's take our 5 drinks for Too Young to Feel This Old's gifted membership. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you very much, Savage Cobra Kinda Official. It is much appreciated. Okay. Let's get back to Kent. We only have a little bit more Kent that we're going to do tonight, and then we're going to call it quits. Let me get rid of this window. And here we go. Here's more Kent.
An airplane, a little toy airplane. So Smithsonian has it, and they have it labeled as a stylized insect.
Well, that's also dumb.
Tell me that's a stylized insect.
No, it's a stylized fish. That's pretty clear. Stylized fish.
In 1571, the Spanish reported finding stones with strange animals carved on them.
Oh, is this the Ica-stones?
Now, who remembers roughly when were dinosaurs rediscovered in modern times? The first one was reassembled, the bones put together when?
I mean, it kind of depends on what you mean. But, like, are we talking about, like, Megalosaurus? Razio Faustus, who's been a member for 1 month, says AIG is a burlap sack of detectives. Nice. With way too many pelagic tunicate emojis. It's just absolutely disgusting. But we will take a drink. The right amount of pelagic tunicates is 0.
1809. 1571. By 1571, most dinosaurs were extinct. It's been killed off by man.
Oh, okay.
They had not been rediscovered yet to put them together in museums. So we have a several hundred-year time lag in here where nobody knew about dinosaurs. Never heard of them. Never saw one. But the Spanish said these stones had strange animals carved on them. They didn't know what they were. They just reported it. You know, we went across this day.
By the way, this report does not come from the Spanish. It comes from, like, a 20th century doctor of some kind. I don't remember what kind. Oh, no, I hit the wrong button again.
No.
Of Norway in 1755 reported that he saw a sea monster.
You know what? I'm not going to worry about it.
I believe that was off the coast of Greenland, if I remember.
We're done. We're going to call it there. I'm going to find out where we left off later. Because I hit the stop button, I'm not going to hunt for it, and it's also basically already quit in time. So, guys, I want to say thank you very much for all the support. We fell a little bit short of getting a bare-faced bent. Which I like that it's very alliterative. So we fell about time. Yeah. We fell a bit short by how much? Only $696. You know, if someone wanted to send in a $700 super chat, $700 super chat, I would do it immediately. Just saying, you know, if anyone is out there who has just way too much money, it's just burning through their pockets. I'm kidding. Don't do that. It's a ridiculous amount.
Do that, but I will shave if you do.
Yeah, so we did get enough for another tutu as well as another feather video. So that means at least the next 2 videos that I make are going to have feathery dapper. Let's take a look at what's coming up ahead. Ben, do you have anything you want to tell people while I pull up a calendar?
Yeah, I have a couple of links down in the description. One is for music that I make. You can click on it and download it and listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is from my Amazon wish list. So
Awesome.
you can buy things from me and then I'll have them.
Yay! Okay. So today is the 11th. So on the 13th, we're going to be having Sal's Pal, Episode 1, Darwin Was Big Dumb, about Dr. Sanford. So that'll be interesting. I believe that Sal Cordova himself will be there because his name is in the title, and he's noticed that, and he said that he will be there in chat. So that'll be exciting. On the 15th, I'm planning on doing a Dapper Reacts. On the 18th, I'm going to be sending a message to Maddie, hopefully tonight, to make sure that we can confirm for a Mat with Maddie. We missed last month because, things came up for Maddie, but she is fine. As I said, and I thought she was fine. She is. Then on the 20th, it will be episode 2 of the Sal's Pal. I may not be in chat for that. I plan on traveling that day, so we'll see what happens. On the 22nd, there won't be a live stream. I've actually already slightly re-edited and uploaded what will be there, which is going to be the last episode of the History of Earth. It's going to be the Cenozoic Part 2 with Jackson Wheat. It's a mirror from Jackson Wheat's channel. There we go. Then on the 25th, we should be doing Jackson with Jackson. Then on the 27th, we should be doing the final part of Sal's Pal, and I don't know about the 29th. That is April 2023, in case you're watching this in the future, in which case you probably don't care about any of this. So yeah, that is the plan there. And I want to say thank you once again, and I'm just going to leave you with the credits as well as, saying, hey, feel free to join the Patreon or something if you want to. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful night. If you have already celebrated Easter, then I hope you had a great Easter. If you're doing Passover, I hope you had a great Passover. If you're going to be celebrating Easter next week, then I will wish you a happy Easter next week, because that is when the rest of the Christians are going to be celebrating Easter, is next week. And with that, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above.
Bob Knob, Work in Progress, Benthoven, Tapioca Weasel, Danny5252, Eleron Teller, Furavara, Ian Chen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babby, San, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bede, Scriptic Mystic, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, and Pat L. Dennis.
As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting, so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters, as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if an annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.